Hey guys, welcome back to It Takes Two. I'm Quinlan.
And I'm Emily.
This week we watched a movie called Drillbit Taylor. But before we get into that, just want to remind you guys to subscribe to all our socials. We got a big list coming at you here real quick. So we got Twitter and TikTok at Takes Two Pod. Our Instagram is Takes Two _ pod.
And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel, It Takes Two. Subscribe. You can find all of our fun visuals, especially from the episode from earlier this week. You're definitely going to want to watch some old vlog footage we have on there. So check those out.
And the stick of butter and the mac and cheese. You'll definitely want to see that.
We don't talk about the stick of butter. So like Quinlan said, this week we watched Drillbit Taylor, which is a movie about 3 kids who hire a low-budget bodyguard to protect them from the playground bully. This movie stars Owen Wilson and Josh Peck. Okay, I think I'm gonna get my biggest complaint for this movie out of the way first, and say that I'm just disappointed that there wasn't more Josh Peck in this movie.
Yeah, for real. He had, 3 lines in the entire movie?
Yeah, and then he was just standing there as, the secondary bully character who did, nothing.
When I saw this movie and the actor list, I just assumed that he would have had a bigger role considering he was one of the bullies, but he was just the sidekick and he barely said anything. And his 3 lines that he had were 1 sentence each. It was nothing.
This should have been peak Josh Peck time because it was 2008. Off Drake and Josh, just riding high. Everybody loved Josh Peck, so why wasn't his part bigger?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think he just should have had a bigger role in this movie in general. He was a beatboxer, though. He was doing the beatboxing, the boots and cats for the little rap battle.
But I was dead at the rap battle. That was the funniest thing I've seen in this movie, and made no sense in any context.
It was so bad, but it was so funny at the same time. This kid literally said he was serving ass kickings in bulk because he was Costco. It just had no flow, but it was still just absolutely hilarious.
It was the trope of a rap battle without the quality of them actually being rappers. It was very middle school.
Yeah, they were it's 8 Mile. But yeah, they're literally fresh. There's the 3 boys that that we follow through the majority of the movie are freshmen in high school, so they're just these tiny little preteen boys basically.
And Josh Peck was 25 in this. The bullies were grown adults and beating up these children that looked like they were 12.
Yeah, it just seemed like it was gonna be a little more than what it was. And now finding out that the movie was filmed by Seth Rogen, I'm a little more disappointed.
Yeah, he was one of the writers on it, so you would have expected a little bit more, because Seth Rogen, one of the kings of comedy.
And I don't know at what point in his career is this specific movie. I don't know, what to compare it to that came out at the reasonably same time. But either way, I just, now that I know that he had a part in it, I'm just I definitely expected it to be a little bit more funny.
You bring up a really good point with that, though, of not only do we not know what point in Seth Rogen's career this was when it came out in 2008, this could have been written years and years in advance, because it takes so long to get a script produced, and we don't know what the actual, original script to this film looked like, and it could have been completely different, so there's a lot of factors there.
Yeah, and I mean, talking about careers and thinking about careers, Owen Wilson is the main guy, the main adult that we follow throughout this whole movie. He's the cheap bodyguard, So this is after Cars. When I hear his voice, I literally think of Cars. That's the number 1 go-to for him. But this movie is after that, but also before a lot of his other more well-known movies that he's in.
You want to know what movie I think of when I think of Owen Wilson?
Huh.
Shanghai Nights. Have you ever seen that?
Shanghai Nights. Oh, really? That's funny.
My mom loves that movie. That's my thought of Owen Wilson. I forgot he was in Cars until you said that.
Oh,
I'm like, Shanghai Nights, obviously.
obviously. No, I totally think of him as, as Lightning McQueen. Like, that's just when I think of him, his voice, it's just, I picture Lightning McQueen.
When you say that, I can picture it, but like, in my head, there was no connection between Lightning McQueen and Owen Wilson, and I don't know why.
That's funny. That's funny, yeah.
Okay, I felt a little insulted at one part of this movie because how dare they call out a good Hot Topic 2-for-1 sale.
I mean, but can you blame them? Like, how embarrassing would it be to show up your freshman year to high school as wearing matching shirts to your best friend?
Well, I think their first mistake was wearing bowling shirts their first day of high school.
Yeah, that was definitely another a big red flag, was wearing what appears to be bowling shirts.
With the devil on them.
But I would be thoroughly embarrassed.
You know, that's fair. You know what, if I was a teen boy in 2008 wearing a matching demon bowling shirt to my best friend, probably.
Yeah, blame it on the Hot Topic sale, but
don't blame nothing on a good Hot Topic sale. If you didn't know, well, you probably don't know because we don't wear the matching shirts very often. But me and Quinlan have matching, I don't even know what you'd call them.
Pullovers?
Yeah, they're pullovers with, like, lots of zipper detailing and stuff. They're pretty cool. I think it's a valid 2-for-1 sale.
A 2-for-1.
It takes two, you know?
It definitely does.
Spoiler alert, guys, this is where we're actually going to start talking about the plot of the movie and not just the random things that happened.
So as they show up to their first day of school, they're wearing these matching bowling shirts. They witness a kid getting shoved into a locker and they decide to speak up. From there, they become these two bullies, Josh Peck and this unknown person, decide to shift all of their bullying on the three of them. The kid they were shoving in the locker and the two kids wearing matching shirts. And these bullies go hard. Like, never in my life have I heard of anything like this extreme for bullies.
They're borderline trying to kill them, I swear.
Yeah, they try to run them over with their car. They're making them pee on each other in the bathroom. They're just doing these really crazy, absurd, like, dangerous things to these three little children, essentially. To the point where these kids are, scared to go to school every day. So what better way to continue going to school than to hire your own personal bodyguard, right?
But you're not just gonna hire them from anywhere. No. You're gonna post an ad on eBay and wait at a coffee shop and hope a decent bodyguard shows up.
So eventually, after sketchy bodyguard 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, all of them come through, they eventually meet Drillbit is Owen Wilson, and they hire him. And he's a homeless person, so he's pretty much just doing this for the money. He's not really trained in any way, but he tells these kids that he's like Black Ops, Special Forces, and that he'll do anything he needs to do in order to keep them safe.
In reality, he is a dishonorably discharged military defector who served one day.
A single day.
He doesn't like conflict.
But eventually they realize that Owen Wilson isn't really protecting them enough when he's outside of the school and they're in school, he can't really protect them the way that he should be able to as a bodyguard. So their grand idea is to let Drillbit, Owen Wilson, pose as a substitute teacher.
Which goes off way too flawlessly, because all he does is walk in and the principal is like, oh, you're a sub, right? He's just like, how'd you know? And shows him to the teacher's lounge.
Once he's in the teacher's lounge, obviously he starts chatting it up with a couple teachers, trying to blend in, play it cool. And he meets this English teacher, I think, or I don't even know what she was.
She was an English teacher.
But the sexual tension between these two instantly was so cringy. I feel like it was like literally instant. And, and very uncomfortable setting for a teacher's lounge, the way that they were chatting it up.
She just made me uncomfortable, like, 90% of the time anyway, just who she was as a person. It was too forward and flirty.
But basically, we get a little sidetracked here in the middle of the movie, okay? He's pretending to be a sub, and he kind of hits it off with this English teacher, and it just starts, like, flashing to scenes of them hinting at the fact that they're having sex in a classroom, like, day after day after day. And we're getting totally lost from the original plot of the movie, where he's a bodyguard, and all we're, like, following are these two for a few minutes, where they're just doing it in a classroom every day.
And then you can't forget about their date. We flash forward to them on a date, looking over the city, and he's gonna open his soul to her and gonna be honest, and she's like, I'm so glad you're who you are, as, like, the classic trope, because I always fall for the bad guys, the criminals, the this, the that. I normally only date men that go to prison, so I'm so glad you're you and you're so different. And as in any cliche movie romance, he just stops and goes, yeah, I'm me, obviously. And then out of the bushes pops a kid who he says looks just like Jimi Hendrix. He does not. And he just starts playing music. And he's just like, oh, look, where did this boy come from? Jumping out of the bushes playing the guitar.
And then, that's their whole day. And then we're back at school again. The bullies start to get a little fed up with the substitute kind of intervening, Owen Wilson intervening every time that they try to get close to the three kids. So, flash forward to, after the date and everything, one of the bullies is on their way to school, Josh Peck, and he sees Owen Wilson showering at the beach. Like, butt naked, showering at the beach. And he's like, Mom, I think that's my substitute. That's like one of his own, his 3 lines that we were talking about. And so then it starts to click in, like, the bullies' minds that maybe the substitute isn't actually a substitute. He's a homeless person, just pretending.
And the real thing that makes this, like, click in his mind is Josh Peck's mom at the beginning of the movie is, like, a regular for Drillbit who panhandles on the side of the road, and they have this, like, fun little banter, and she gives him money every day. And she's like, nah, that's the bum on the side of the road that I always give money to. So obviously this starts to stir up some drama. The bullies end up confronting him, Drillbit, at the school and being like, you're not really a sub. And so they end up punching Drillbit, and the boys get very offended that, like, Drillbit didn't fight back or anything, and he's like, nah, I can't blow my cover, I gotta stay in character. And so then, as normal, they go back to one of the kids' houses after school to, like, regroup, do some training, as they normally do, talk out what happened through the day. And as they walk into the house, Drillbit's group of friends, who are also homeless people that we've seen throughout the movie kind of be sketchy and, like, pickpocket, steal things from other people, are robbing this kid's house. And the kids are freaking out. They're like, who are these people? Drillbit's like, this isn't the plan. What are you guys doing? Like, this wasn't the plan. So the kids start to catch on to, hey, maybe he's just using us this entire time. So all the kids' stuff gets taken, the homeless guys go away, they're offended, they kick out Drillbit, they're like, we want nothing to do with you, we're gonna call the cops on you.
But in the end, Drillbit has this little, like, heartfelt moment. He's like, I can't end this with the kids. I can't leave it bad. So he steals all the stuff back from his buddies and gives it back to the kids.
Once the kids have gotten all their stuff back, they're like, okay, we're done with Drillbit. We're done listening to him. We're just gonna have to take care of this bully problem ourselves. So they suit up in their matching bowling shirts and go to this house party to confront the bully. And you know what? They actually do kind of good at first. They take him down to the ground, they punch him out, they're like, oh, this wasn't so bad, until he gets up.
And then he's big mad.
Big mad.
And so, yeah, the bullies start, fighting back, and then
Josh Peck isn't really involved that much in this part. Like, a little bit of pushing, but not really, like, in the fight, I feel like.
Yeah, he's there to lend a hand if needed, but this other bully's just gonna take on all 3 of the kids, no problem. So Drillbit just like eventually just shows up at the party, and he's trying to, stop everything from happening, trying to send everybody home, and then the bully starts trying to beat up Drillbit, and he's like, I can't beat him up, he's a kid, and then everyone's like, no, he's 18, and so then they start going at it.
He goes full taekwondo on him and like spinning back kicks this kid.
Mind you, he literally couldn't even fight a while ago. He can't even fight. Like, in the movie when he's like training these kids, preparing them to fight, his moves are just like the stupidest things you've ever heard. He's like the bear hug or avoidance, and like he's just doing like really stupid moves. Like, he can't fight at all, but then randomly at the end of the movie, here we are, and he's just like, he knows all the moves. He's doing spinning back kicks, and he's like flying through the air throwing punches, and he's like doing the most.
So then he like comes in and rescues the kids, obviously beats up this bully. They're like kind of dispersing, he's taking the kids away. And what does the bully do but come running out with a samurai sword and just like chucks it at the kids.
And Drillbit obviously needs to be the hero, so he catches this flying sword.
Blade end first.
And what better way to lose a finger?
His pinky comes right off. So then obviously the cops are coming and whatever. They have to take all their statements and everything. They're like, oh, we gotta get you to the infirmary. Meanwhile, they run over his finger that has just been severed, and then they put it in a frozen margarita to keep it preserved.
Ugh, that's so gross. A margarita pinky.
There's no way that preserved it. Like, that would make it rot faster, I feel like.
Yeah, that was nasty. So, even with a severed pinky, the cops arrested him. We're assuming because he went AWOL from the military. They never really tell us what his prison sentence is for. We do know that he serves 3 weeks and he gets out at the end of the movie, but I don't think they ever, tell us why.
Could just be a misdemeanor for fighting. We don't know. And then while he's in prison, guess who he's still dating? The teacher, who only normally dates men who go to prison, because he just happens to still be her type.
I mean, before he was just a loser, but now he's a bad boy loser, I guess.
Can we talk about the product placement for a minute? He's sitting in prison and he's like, thanks guys for my box of Captain Crunch. It's been great to share with the other prisoners here.
As they hand the box is the only thing you see on the screen.
It was so, the product placement is just so aggressive in this movie.
I feel like a lot of movies do it very poorly. This one was kind of funny, badly done, but in a funny way.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of movies don't try to be funny, and it just ends up terribly in the first place.
There's a Netflix movie that's got Kourtney Kardashian and I want to say Addison Rae. And the joke about that movie is how much product placement is in it, because in the credits there is a special thanks to, and then a list of 20 brands. And then after that there's a thanks to section of even more brands.
Jeez.
And they'll be like, ooh, look at this free Domino's pizza. It's so bad. Let us know if you guys want us to review that movie, because that would be a train wreck.
I feel like, yeah, product placement is really something that's hard to do. In one of my marketing classes, we spent a whole week talking about product placement, because it's a really good way to promote your product, obviously, but so often it's done so poorly that it might not be good for your business in the long run, because as a business you don't get a say in how it's done, in a film.
From a filmmaker standpoint, I feel like it should always be subliminal, and just, unless it's like this, where it's a comedy and it's a joke, and it's oh, look, my Captain Crunch. But on a whole, it should be a subliminal thing, when they turn around. The Folgers coffee just happens to be label facing out. Because otherwise, audiences are smart enough to understand that, hey, this is product placement. You don't need to treat us like we're stupid, and that we're only here for you to advertise.
Yeah, it's so overly done so often. But yeah, this one was a pretty good example. They had talked about Captain Crunch prior, and every time that Drillbit went to this kid's house, he was like, you got any cereal? And it was funny in the way that he mentioned cereal. a few times prior, and then right at the end it was like, here's my Captain Crunch, and it was just like a bright red box in a prison cell, so like everything else was just like gray, and then it was just like bright red Captain Crunch.
They at least did it good enough for the type of film it was. And then basically Drillbit just walks out of prison and reunites with all the friends he made beforehand, then lost, and now everything's okay again and they all love each other. The end.
Yeah, that's that movie.
It was good. I'd say if you like a good cheesy 2000s comedy, it's definitely worth watching.
Yeah, it's definitely, mid. Some funny jokes that, you know, I could see myself, like, referencing in the future, but nothing that's like, I want to watch this again, you know?
It's a solid 3 out of 5 stars.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a very accurate rating.
Honestly, I think that's the most disappointing thing about this film, though, is that there wasn't anything exciting that happened. It wasn't necessarily like a formulaic film like last week's episode, but it wasn't anything to write home about. All of the jokes felt very just 2000s, which, like, play to your audience, makes sense, but at the same time, like, there wasn't anything inventive or new, whereas, like, the plot line could have led, I feel like, to a lot of new and inventive things. Like, if we could have seen more of his, like, homeless friends, or at one point they decided to impersonate teachers and, like, show up to the teacher's lounge. But that's all we saw. Like, there was no actual plot that happened. We just saw it. I felt like it moved past all of the things it did way too quickly. We never held on one thing long enough to really develop it.
Yeah, and another thing that I kind of made me disappointed, but also it's an older film and whatnot, but the fact that I could not name 2 female characters in this whole film.
No, I couldn't either.
I can name quite a few of the male characters, but, like, that shows you how little female representation there was in this movie, besides the sex-crazed English teacher, and there was a mom.
It does not pass the Bechdel test.
It does not pass the Bechdel test. And, like, I don't even know the English teacher's name. I just know that for some reason she was crazy. But that doesn't mean. And then there was that one scene, you remember where they were running through all the yards? And then they were running past these girls sunbathing?
They just stop and take pictures with girls in bikinis.
Yeah, on their flip phones. And they were just like...
It made no sense. The girls were just okay with it.
Yeah. Had they just, like, omitted that one particular scene, it would have been less, like, disappointing in, like, the feminist aspect of this movie, the women representation in this movie. Because, oh wait, there was another girl that one of the boys had a crush on. So, like, there was another female character. But I just think, like, leaving that, taking pictures of girls that are half naked sunbathing, like, why was that included? So overall, yeah, there's a couple things that were kind of disappointing. Like, there was some funny opportunities that they missed, or including some weird sexualizations of women, you know. But overall, you get what you get. It wasn't a terrible film. It was good. It had its moments. I would recommend it to other people if they were into this kind of film.
A very 2008 comedy.
Exactly. But I don't think I would ever watch it again.
Well, that's all we got for you guys today. Make sure that you are following us on Spotify, on YouTube. Check out our TikTok, Takes2Pod, same handle on Twitter. And don't forget to follow our Instagram, brand new, at Takes2_pod. And we'll see you guys in the next one.
Peace out, Cub Scout.